start. Morning, Pickles. How are you? Let me just start the resources. Start auction. Start. Okay, there we go. There goes out the notifications. Good morning. Oh, it won't stay still. Good enough for Jazz. All right. Good morning. How are you doing? Good morning, Nicholas. Good morning, MD Smith. I'm good, Pickles. I'm good. I'm tired, actually. I haven't been sleeping for a while. Van Isle Collectibles, how did your first show go? Congratulations. How did your first show go? Good morning, Dave from Alberta. Pizza Man, what's up? Nietzsche, good morning. Welcome in. Welcome to Wednesday. I don't know where my light is, so you're just gonna have to deal with the fact that my light. It was super fun. Awesome. I am so glad. I'm so glad. Everyone follow Van Isle Collectibles. They had their first show yesterday. And when's your next show? I Spy Vintage. Good morning. Let us everyone share your shows. Soulless Creations. Good morning. And a reminder, try to have at least 5 to 10 shows up scheduled ahead of time, even if you put them in like May now. I used to say December, but December's closer now. So even if you put them into next year, have a whole bunch of shows. Good morning, Marika. Good morning, Forget Me Not Vintage. How are you? Because if someone goes to your profile and there are no shows to bookmark or only one show to bookmark, you're losing out on opportunities, right? When you come in here and I say, hey, everybody, go to their profile and bookmark their shows, and there's like no shows or just one show. Highway 7 is nuts. When isn't Highway 7 nuts, Malachi? I can't, like, especially going from once you hit the Pickering, even before you hit the Pickering border, like into the airport lands, all the way through. Highway 7 has always been nuts. Even here, Highway 7 is nuts. Even I'm not that far away. Construction. Well, it is there's only 2 seasons in Canada, winter and construction. Dave from Alberta. Good morning, Be Kind DIY. Dave from Alberta says, show share. Looks like I will be unemployed bum next week. There's a teacher strike going on in Alberta. Having a multi-part silver refining show if that happens. Yay! Magnus by Marika says, I noticed that I book my daily shows 30 days out. Yeah, the more you can book. I mean, I'm like a little insane. Don't do what I do. I have like a lot of shows booked, but I also like bump shows a lot. So I have shows that that are really old that I keep bumping. Don't do what I do. Nerus, good morning. I hope I said that right. Lady Tagalong, how are you? Soulless Creations asks, Loki, can you go take that outside? Soulless. I love having a dog. He's playing with his Humpty Trumpty. That's why. It's like whenever I do a show, he has to grab Humpty Trumpty and start destroying it. Soulless Creation says, must you always do an auction? No, absolutely not. In fact, you have like multiple choices in how you want to run your whatnot show. So you could do an informational show and then have stuff in your buy it now. You could just do a buy it now show where you pin things that are in your buy it now and say if anyone's interested. You can run flash sales from your buy it now. So it's like a store, and then you can have special sales that are on, and then you show off things. Again, you still want to do pin it and show it off. You got a terrific warning. Oh yes, hello Sunshine. Are you in the States? You would have gotten a terrific warning about me. Welcome to Canada, eh? Watching Angel, Noah Chi. There's probably like double. There's probably another warning up top. You get the warning when you go in. It's because, so U.S. buyers in Canadian shows, all your shipments would come from me via UPS. And UPS would then collect the, it won't let you type the word. The UPS will collect a fee from what the government charges for tariffs and taxes and custom duties, because since 1938 until August 29th of this year, the United States had a thing called the de minimis exemption, which meant that small low value packages just went through customs without any extra charges. which is very unusual. The rest of the world doesn't do that. But the guy in the White House decided that the de minimis exemption should be removed on August 29th, which caused chaos everywhere, and which means that you now pay customs taxes and duties, kind of like when you go through the airport and they have like the duty-free counters. It's the same idea. Like, it's always been duty-free until August 29th. So it's like 4 generations of Americans have never had to deal with this before. So that means that packages that come from Canada have to go through customs. The way Whatnot system is set up, it isn't set up to charge you the customs ahead of time, and the system that Canada Post and other companies like Chitchats have put in place for prepaying of customs duties is not within what Whatnot system currently asks for. Like, Whatnot makes things as simple as possible for sellers. There's going to have to be more layers in order for us to do that. So it's going by UPS, and UPS will give you a bill before you receive the package. Unfortunately, that bill is like $24 minimum, US dollars, $24 minimum, with UPS charging you for customs clearance, plus then whatever the government charges for taxes, tariffs, and duties. So it's a really high bill. So I recommend that if you are a US buyer and you're going into a Canadian show, that you buy in bulk to make that $24 less painful, right? If you buy 10 things, then $24 spread over 10 things is no big deal. US made items have no taxes, but US, yeah, $10 would be nice if that's all they charge. But so far, Forget Me Not Vintage, unless you've seen something different, it's been $24 as the minimum charge that they've been charging for Whatnot. And I think a part of it is because the HTS codes are not always correct. So I think they need to add that feature on. Be Kind DIY says, what will happen if the US buyer doesn't pay the fees? Yeah, if they refuse. Now, in some cases, Whatnot has been refunding the buyer and not paying out the seller, which I don't think is fair. If the buyer bought it, got all those warnings, right? Like, US buyers come into shows, they're getting big warnings, and they then refuse to pay UPS and return to sender. We shouldn't have to pay the return to sender fee for the package coming back to us, and we should not get dinged as sellers. I've had 2 giveaways returned to me because obviously they didn't want to pay $24 plus for something that they should have gotten for free. I got to figure out a way of sending it to them. When Canada Post strike is over, I will send to them via Canada Post myself because I feel guilty. And I will pay the fees, but it's a gift, so I shouldn't have to pay any fees. So it all depends. So Be Kind DIY, what I would suggest is you contact Whatnot support and say the buyer is returning to sender. What are you going to be doing? Because I assume that you're not at 1,000 sales. So yeah, as Forget Me Not Vintage said, US made items have no taxes. Most of them. They have to be CUSMA compliant. And so some things like jewelry have additional tariffs on them, so they will get charges because they're made from metals that the United States has added extra tariffs to. So it's like there are some CUSMA, which is the Canadian, US, Mexico agreement. Some CUSMA items that are CUSMA exempt if they're made in the US, Canada, or Mexico, and they're being shipped into the United States. But even if they're tariff free, they may not be they may be customs free, but they may not be tariff free, if that makes any sense. And then on top of it, we've got oh, there we go. Dave from Alberta says, Forget Me Not Vintage had a fun show last night. All my US buyers have been billed at $10 US. I would love it if that's the new norm. That would be awesome. Be Kind DIY said, I even reminded them before purchasing as well. I know it goes in one ear and out the other, as my father used to say. People don't always listen. There's only so much you can do. And Forget Me Not Vintage says, I had a giveaway returned to me yesterday. Hello, Med MCA, how are you? My vintage stuff, good morning. Vintage jewelry doesn't get taxed. What are some examples of customer exempt items? Well, let's look. Hang on. Please hold. Is there a way? No, we cannot turn off selling to the United States. All we can do is Whatnot is warning the US customers with a big like warning sign when they come into the show. Like they have to hit, even if it's a raid, they still have to hit join show. Because I've seen that, because I sometimes use a US address, and then if I'm in somebody's show and they raid into the United States, I get a warning. So let's see. Hang on. Gonna pull this up. Please hold. We're gonna look at what are some examples. What are some examples of CUSMA exempt items? All right. CUSMA compliant goods are largely exempt from certain U.S. tariffs, not specific items being exempt from the agreements. Items like semiconductors, lumber, and critical minerals were listed as exemptions to reciprocal tariffs in 2025, as well as automotive parts, pharmaceuticals. There are specific CUSMA rules of origin. So, CUSMA compliant goods are exempt from the tariffs imposed by the U.S. It's a broad category. Specific sectors, energy and critical minerals, blah, blah, blah. Goods for temporary admission. Rules of origin are key. Dairy quotas. Oh, good God. Goods. Okay. It's easier to say what goods aren't. Oh, God. It is so long. Claiming preferential treatment. Understanding rules of origin. Identifying products. Goods subject to oh, good God. Okay. Most Canadian exports that previously entered the U.S. on a most favored nation tariff-free basis now need to comply with the customs rules of origin in order to avoid the IEEPA border and fentanyl tariffs that entered into force March 4th. Information on tariff treatment. Oh, God. Okay, so the best way to find out, seriously, is to go to tarifffinder.ca, because like there's no little list. Okay, I'm catching up. Magnus by Barika says, I believe my new account is. It can't be. It's not Canada only selling. I have to ask Whatnot to be an international seller first. What? I didn't hear about that. Can you send me the screenshots if you have the email still? I would love to read that, because that is weird. Dave from Alberta says, I've seen 2 reviews where Americans blame the seller about tariffs. Maddening after all the warnings given, should be taken down. Yes. And you can, first of all, reply. Anytime you get a bad review, always reply to that review and say, and be as kind as possible. Don't be like, you dumb, you should have read, we gave you all kinds of warnings, you knew better, blah, 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 Just say, I'm really sorry that you didn't read the warning that Whatnot gave and heard me say it in my show, that there are additional costs. I have no control over what your government does. Or something to that effect. Something nice. Do it in your own language. Do something nice and respond. But then also you can message Whatnot, Trust and Safety, and ask them to review that as an because it's unfair. Sometimes they leave it up anyways. But you can always say, I want to challenge this, appeal this particular review because it's unfair. Dave says, I mod both shows, warned in the notes verbally and the click button as well. Okay, yeah, if you find it, that would be great. Yes, hello, Donnelly Fines. I'm sorry that you have a governmental system that can actually shut down the entire government. We don't have that. If a budget doesn't get passed, that is considered a vote of non-confidence. And seriously, please explain to me how a Republican bill where there's a Republican held Senate and Congress and executive branch can possibly not pass their own damn bill. Like, that makes no sense. That would not happen here. If you've got the votes, you should have the votes. If you supposedly have a Republican majority everywhere, then you should be able to pass it. So why the fork can't your Republicans get together and actually, like, pass things? I mean, I'm glad it's not passing, because as far as I'm concerned, taking healthcare away from Americans who already don't have enough healthcare to begin with, it's just unforking believable. It is time for the United States to catch up with the rest of the world and have universal healthcare and kick all these multi-million-dollar CEOs in all these health companies out on the streets. I'm sorry. Yes, they should lose their jobs. They should lose their jobs. Companies should go under. I'm sorry, because when you rebuild with a universal health system, you're gonna a healthier workforce equals a healthier economy. A healthier workforce equals a healthier military, since military is so important down there. But anyways, I digress. Hello from closed down the United States. Does that mean that USPS is closed too? Do you guys not have USPS, or is it still running? Because it's a government aid. It's like owned by the government, right? I don't know. Holy cow! Are you like, oh my god, the post office is still running? Okay, good. I'm like, holy poop! Could you imagine? Oh my god. Okay, I'm glad that our post office isn't running right now, but we have options. And look what Loki brought me on cue. This is his favorite toy to play with when I'm on air. He's a hard-boiled. All right, you want to go take this outside and play with it. Ready? Go. Okay. Donnelly says, my post office only delivers 3 days a week. I mean, do you have enough mail to warrant 3 days a week? I remember when we had the place in Florida, they didn't come on Sundays, but they came 6 days a week, and the cutest little cars, these little tiny cars. And she would put the mail in her little tiny, I mean, it was almost like it was a glorified golf cart, for crying out loud. Street legal golf cart. And it was like 6 days a week. And most of the time it was just junk mail. I don't get it. It is cold, isn't it, Cap City? Holy cow. I mean, it's going to warm up. It's going to warm up. Let me double check. Alexa, what's the temperature going to be today?
Right now, it's 11 degrees Celsius. Today, expect a high of 18 degrees.
18. Okay, not so warm. But better than what it is now. Loki, come and settle, please. Come lie down and settle. This is a dog who brings all of his toys and, like, surrounds me with toys. I now have 30 toys all around me. And he's going to go get more. I know he's going to. We have a lot of dog toys. Okay, so let's get back to it. So my office hasn't turned on the heat. Dude. Stampicker says, in 2025-26, Canada Post Corporation shouldn't be relying on flyers as a billion-dollar business. Freaking men. I mean, is part of the problem... Alexa, thank you, but I wasn't talking to you.
Thanks for the feedback.
I know, and Pup does want to make me happy. Here you go, Mummy. You talk about tariffs, I show you things. Good morning, Jespian. Okay, let's talk Strike 2.0. Canada Post wastes so much time and energy on delivering junk mail. I mean, that's their bread and butter now. That's the sad thing. Canadian Tire funds... Yeah, okay, seriously, you're right, Dave. The only flyers that I tend to get are Canadian Tire ones, which I love because they are stuffing for my I go into, I actually, because I have to go to my local post office to pick up my mail. And so everybody gets their junk mail and they just throw it in the recycling bin that's there. And so I dig through the recycling bin and take out all the Canadian Tire flyers to use as stuffing. So if they get rid of that, I'm gonna have to find alternative methods of free stuffing. I just haven't looked at you. I know, but I get the flyers. Yes, Cap City says if people want flyers, they can absolutely have a stack to pick them up at the community mail. They could always do that, or they could just go to online. I mean, if you really want a flyer, you can go into the store and get the flyer, right? So I don't know. Anyways, the world is changing. Good morning, Liz. How are you? All right, let's do this. Let's go through the whole thing. Let's do this. Rotate camera, face cam. Did I manage to click on that? Yes, I did. Okay, move me down. Move me out of the way. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Strike 2.0. I'm just going to go through this really quickly. Sorry, let me run that item. Let me run the strike. Start auction. Start auction. There we go. Okay. Welcome to Strike 2.0, friends. Here we are. Strike 2.0. All right. So I'm just going to do a quick update so that you all know what's going on. If you've heard this before, just kind of have have a nap or something. Come back in a few minutes. So, how long is this strike going to go on for? We have no freaking clue. There are some union members in the room, so calm yourself when it comes to saying anti-union things, because you're going to get union people coming back at you. So have respect for each other. That's all I'm going to say. So the duration is unknown. The challenge this time is that the union isn't just fighting with or trying to avoid Canada Post Corporation from screwing them over. They now also have to deal with the government that made an announcement last week that delivery is going to completely change in Canada, which is not like, have a great day, Dave. Look both ways before you cross the street. Say no to drugs unless they're legal. So you can still run shows while you're live on Whatnot. And please note, US sellers who are in the room, we love you. Unfortunately, right now we cannot we cannot buy from you. Okay, so Canadians are blocked from buying outside of Canada right now because of the fact that Canada Post is not running. So if a Canadian was to buy from you, if they didn't block it, and a Canadian bought from you, it would get stuck at the border. And so the last time there was a strike, let me go back to duration. The last time there was a strike, it lasted 32 days. The one before that lasted 26 days. Giveaways too, Jespian. Everything's blocked. So Canadians should not be able to, they should have blocked entering into giveaways. So if you do an international giveaway, Canadians shouldn't be able to enter that. As well as Canadians cannot, and also people in France are still blocked from buying in the US. Or no, I can't buy from France. Anyways, if I'm in the US, I'm blocked from buying on US seller sites. Yes, so all US shows. Will just show you if you're a Canadian buyer and you come into a US show, it's going to say not shippable to you, because it's not right now shippable to you, because USPS is just going to have to hold it at the border. Last time, USPS waited like over 2 weeks before they stopped accepting Canadian bound packages. I think they're going to be smarter this time. Yeah, I don't. So if, dear Whatnot, if you're in the room, you need to turn off international giveaway entry for Canadians so that we don't enter US giveaways, because they can't send it to us anyways. They're just going to have to cancel the giveaway, and that's not cool. So I think what's happening is what happened last time, is that it automatically would cancel your win if you won in an international. So don't go into US show and enter giveaways unless you've got a US address. Now you can get a US address. There are lots of companies where you can pay to have your parcels shipped to that address instead. I've done it before. Thanks, Donnelly. Yeah, I get to see that because I have a US address that I use often. So I see it when I come into Canadian shows very often. So, all right. So the duration is unknown. It could be 2 months. It could be 2 weeks. The government could try and force them back to work, but I don't think that they're going to go back to work. I think that they're going to push back the same way that the Air Canada flight attendants pushed back. All right, so duration is unknown. So live on Whatnot is a key time. You can keep selling. Now we're going to talk about Chitchats and we're going to talk about bring your own label. Those are your two options to ship if you're a Canadian seller. Okay, Chitchats is available and ships to most parts of Canada, and but if it Chitchats would not be what you would ship for US. All US shipments, if somebody in the US buys from you, it automatically goes by UPS. The buyer will pay Whatnot for the shipping, and you can generate a UPS label for your US sellers, your US buyers only through seller.whatnot.com. Going into your seller hub, you can if you have a US buyer, it's only going to go by UPS and it goes through the Whatnot system. Okay, so keep selling. This is a really important time of year. We don't want to lose out on that Q4 business that's like here already. It's a key time of year. Don't lose out. Don't say I'm going to give up and I'm just not going to sell. If you can, try, because you're missing out on revenue opportunities, and other Canadian sellers are going to be taking your revenue because they're going to be running shows and you're not. So before you say I'm just going to give up, listen to me. I'm going to teach you how to do these things so you don't need to. So first and foremost, I'm going to talk about Chitchats as an option. I'm going to go forward to Chitchats. So I want you to do your research. Go to the website chitchats.com, okay? And then I want you to look for a location that's near you. If you don't have a location that's near you, there's going to be an option, hopefully very soon, probably in the next week or so, where you'll be able to send your packages by Purelator for a discounted rate to Chitchats. But if you look on Chitchats and you can see that you already have a drop-off location or a branch that's near you, or if you're in Atlantic Canada, you're near a Maritime Bus Company location, then I want you to switch over to Chitchats. Your buyer will pay Whatnot for the Chitchat shipping, and you'll be able to just automatically create a label in Whatnot, and it's easy peasy, cheesy wheezy, and then you just drop it off at the Chitchats location. If the Chitchats location is like an hour or 2 hours away from you and you think I can do that, but I would suggest that what you do is you take your shows and you push them all together. So maybe you do 3 shows in a row and then you ship out the next day to Chitchats. So you're only driving like once or twice a week into Chitchats as opposed to constantly driving into Chitchats. Yes, is it going to affect your rates a little bit? Are your shipping rates are going to be affected, so your times are going to be affected? Yes, but you're still going to be selling and you're still going to be pretty close to 2 to 3 days, which is not bad. Loki, for the love of all things holy, come. The dogs next door start barking on purpose, which makes Loki bark, which makes them bark, which makes him bark. No, you can stop now. Come here. You're going to settle down, or I'm going to shut that door. Settle. Down. Nope. You're going to ignore the dogs. Down. Down. I know. I know. Hey. Come here. All right. I'm going to shut that freaking door in a second. Okay. Anyways. Chitchats. So if you can, switch to Chitchats. How do you switch to Chitchats? You go on your mobile phone. You go to your seller hub. You go to the shipping section and you select shipping provider and put it as Chitchats and hit save. And then you'll be able to generate Chitchats labels. If you ever have an issue where it's hard for you to create a Chitchats label, it may be that particular location of your buyer is in a spot where Chitchats cannot reach because it's usually by Canada Post. It's in a remote location. Then you'll have to do bring your own label just for those ones. But for the most part, most of your buyers are probably going to be in a Chitchats location. Yeah, everybody has the option for Chitchats, but do not use it unless you've got a drop-off location near you. Scully, you're in Winnipeg. You don't have a location near you. Hang on. Next, so you're going to have to use bring your own label for now. Chitchat, you could call another Chitchats location. I am guessing that the Burlington, Ontario location would be the closest to you. So you want to go to them, call them and see if they will do a batch label for you, which is where you would then pay Purolator to ship it to Burlington. But I think the price might be a little bit high right now. So bring your own label may be an option. Magus by Marika says Chitchats is so cheap compared to UPS shipping for bring your own label. Yes, so that's why you want to switch. If you're trying to send to the US, it has to go by UPS through Whatnot. That has a discounted rate. Okay, let me go back. So you've got a choice of Chitchats. Now, if Chitchats is not an option for you right now because we don't have the Purolator information yet. If Chitchats isn't an option for you right now, Whatnot has activated bring your own label temporarily. And those folks who have questions, I will answer them after I finish this presentation thing. So Whatnot has activated bring your own label. So go to everybody who's a seller, a Canadian seller, received an email from Whatnot. I need you to go to your read it twice, click on all the links, and read all the stuff in the links. There's an FAQ that's on help.whatnot.com about this strike. And if you go there and read all of that, it gives you step-by-step instructions on how to use bring your own label. Okay, so bring your own label is an option if Chitchats is not an option for you. So bring your own label, you can only purchase UPS or FedEx labels. And here is where I'm going to say, yes, in the email and in the FAQ on help.whatnot.com, it does say to if you're going to use bring your own label, you should go to UPS or FedEx and buy a label from them. Don't do that. I am going against what Whatnot says because you're going to pay through the nose. You just need to purchase a UPS or FedEx label. You don't have to purchase it directly from UPS or FedEx. If you want to pay top dollar and not get that money back from Whatnot, go ahead and go to ups.com or fedex.com. Otherwise, freightcom.com or mccool.com, and I'll have that information later on the screen. There are all kinds of them. Go to Lord Google. There's this thing called Google. You put in the name of your town and shipping, and it will give you the different companies that are available. You want to look for ones. You can't use Sendle. You have to use one that is going to have UPS or FedEx labels for you. UPS usually always wins when it comes to price. So NetParcel is one. If NetParcel has UPS or FedEx, then you can use them. So I would say sign up for all the different websites and compare prices and pick the cheapest one. That's what I did last time. Is I usually went, the two cheapest ones were always freightcom.com for me and mccool.com. The cool thing is too is that you can get them to do pickup at your house. And so you can just put the parcels in a safe location in your house and they'll just come and pick them up, and you just schedule the pickup, which is awesome. I do miss that. I miss not having, especially last winter, I really missed not being able to do that. So find a company. Do not find a company. Do not use do not go direct. Freightcom.com and mccool.com, all the others. And someone just asked, sorry, I just joined. Have you gone over the back end Whatnot part to set up this form of shipping yet? I'm almost there. And again, read your email. You received an email from Whatnot that has a link to their FAQ, their step-by-step. And you can also go to help.whatnot.com. If one of my mods can put that in the chat, help.whatnot.com. Search for Canada Post. And it is going to show you all the details. It's going to have the Canada Post FAQ, Canada Post Strike FAQ, and it's going to tell you step by step how to do bring your own label. So, key thing, if you use bring your own label, another reason why you want to find the cheapest way to do this through UPS or FedEx is because Whatnot is only going to give you the money that the buyer paid them for shipping. So if you've got Canada Post as your shipping provider, then they're going to charge the buyer the normal amount. Thank you, Pickles. The normal amount of for shipping that you would if Canada Post was still active, that's what they're going to charge your buyer. Then any difference in cost is your expense. Now, in some locations of Canada, it's going to be extremely expensive compared to what the buyer paid whatnot for shipping. Other places in Canada, I'm telling you, the majority of places in Canada, the shipping rate that I paid was very similar to what Canada Post was charging the buyer. So, but in order to offset these additional costs that you're going to have, the potential of additional costs, increase your how much you have for your buy it now price or your starting bid. Increase that by $1 or $2 in order to offset those costs. Are you downloading that onto your buyers? Yes, absolutely. But is it a necessary thing? And that's up to you. It's your business. You don't have to if you don't want to. You could take it as a business expense, or you could just decrease your risk by increasing your starting bids. So instead of starting at $3, start at $4 or $5. If the item is worth it, then people are going to pay that, right? If they were going to bid up anyways, then they're willing to start at $5, or $4 or $10, whatever it is. Don't take me literally. You have to think about your own individual item and how much you need to get for it, and then add $1 or $2 onto that to cover your potential shipping costs. Okay, so when you go, and again, this is all in help.whatnot.com. Thank you, Pickles, again for putting that in the chat. Help.whatnot.com. You're going to enter the tracking code, and then you're going to select either UPS or FedEx. Let me see if I can zoom in for a second. So see that? You put in your tracking code, and then you select UPS or FedEx, and then you hit save. And then it is going to, let's go back over here. Okay, so once you do that, there we go. Once you do that, if you already have instant payout, which means you've already sold 1,000 things or more, you're going to instantly see on your ledger the amount that you earned from the item sold, as well as the amount that the buyer paid whatnot for shipping, if you use Bring Your Own Label. So it will automatically show up. If you don't have Bring Your Own Label yet, this will pop up 7 days after you've entered the tracking number. And then 2 weeks after you've shipped it, it will automatically mark it as shipped, even if, because of the way that the system is, they're not getting confirmation from UPS or FedEx that it's been delivered. They're just automatically, after 2 weeks. Sleek Styles, go to help.whatnot.com and put in prohibited, look up prohibited, and you'll see all the prohibited items. Or just put in like live animals, and you'll see you'll get to the, or new sex or graphic. Any of those will pull it up for you, but prohibited is what you want to do. Help.whatnot.com is like for everybody. If you have a question, help.whatnot.com is the place you want to go. All right, so I'm just going to try and blast through this. So you're going to see your shipping subsidy after 7 days. You're going to get your money if you already don't have instant payout. Now, 2 weeks after you enter the label information, that's when your that's when your item will get officially marked as received, and that's when your buyer will get do you want to give a review on this? So oftentimes you're going to find 3 days after you ship, especially if you're using UPS or FedEx, 2 or 3 days after you ship, your buyers are going to be messaging you saying, I love my item so much. Thank you so much. I want to do a review, but it's not letting me do a review. So you're going to have to tell them that it's going to take 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks after you hit save on the label, the tracking label. That 2 weeks afterwards is when your buyer is going to be able to do a review. That's what happened last time, and a lot of buyers were upset because they couldn't do a review right away. You're going to have to ask your buyers for patience, and ask them to wait until 2 weeks, and then they will be able to. All right, so we talked about Chitchats. Here's the questions that I get a lot. What if I have packages stuck in transit? If you are a buyer or a seller and you have packages stuck in the Canada Post system, they are stuck until this strike is over. And they are secure, And as soon as the strike is over, Canada Post will work as quickly as it can to move all those packages through the system, but it could take quite a while. Peacock Julie asked, am I going to get paid for stuck packages? You should get a payout for stuck packages, yes, because you ship them. But some buyers are going to ask for a refund, but they're Whatnot shouldn't be taking that out of your ledger. Baba Rips, it totally depends on where you are in relation to the closest Chitchats location, how much it's going to cost. If you want to do like a test run, I would say create a whole bunch of labels, Chitchats labels, and then message. Actually, don't message. Call your closest branch. And this is what people have been doing. Abbotsford, BC helped out with this. Is call your local branch and ask them to create a batch label for you. Tell them that you have Chitchats labels, but you're a Whatnot seller and you can't create your own batch labels, and you need a batch label created, and they will do that for you. But make sure that you already have set up a chitchats.com account. So make sure you go to chitchats.com and create an account if you want to use batch labels. You do not have to create an account if you're not going to need batch labels. My Vintage Stuff says on the FedEx website, I was asked, okay, so My Vintage Stuff, any Whatnot order that is going to the United States of America goes by UPS through the Whatnot system. You need to use bring your own label. You just need to hit generate label and you will get a UPS label automatically from Whatnot with what the amount that the buyer paid Whatnot already for shipping. So if the address, where's my thing here? Hang on. If the address is the United States of America, don't use bring your own label. Hit generate, enter the dimensions and weight, hit generate, and it will automatically create a UPS label for you. And then you can go to ups.com. If you don't have a drop-off location near you, you can go to ups.com, or you can call them in order to get pickup, a local pickup, your pickup at your house. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my stupid phone. I accidentally clicked in the wrong spot. Okay. So you don't need to do that if you are shipping to the US. You do not need to use you will not be doing cross border. You will be sending it through Whatnot's system. Magnus by Marika says Chitchats is giving first batch label free pure later to Chitchats. Yes. So make sure you sign up for an account so that you can do that. Again, we're waiting for the information from Chitchats. Matthew from Chitchats and I have talked, and he is working on a way for us to create our batch labels ourselves. In the meantime, it's worth a try to call the local branch, the closest branch to you, and ask them to help you create a batch label. In Abbotsford, British Columbia, they were able to create a batch label for a Whatnot seller. So, all right. So we are still waiting for answers on can we use Pure Later drop off with Chitchats? Yes, we can. But how do we create a batch label in Chitchats with Whatnot labels? We are still waiting for the ability to be able to go. Scally Breeze, thank you for the tip. You are awesome. Everyone, please follow Scally Breeze. Am I following you? Let me see. I am following you. 2.6K sold. Look at you. Bam. Yeah, no problem, Scally. That's what I do every morning is help Whatnot sellers. Every morning. That's pretty much what I do. I haven't been doing anything else for all summer long. And now with this strike, I'm not doing anything else but chatting with you guys. One of these days I'll get back to selling. Cause my numbers need to be better. I want it so that my number of items sold is higher than the number of followers that I have. That's my goal for next year. Is to do that. I do follow a lot of people, but I don't expect to follow back. Okay, so I'm going to go to the questions and just review any questions that anybody had. So we're going to go way up here. Okay. Stamp pickers. So Hardspot was told a Canadian it cost me $46 for their giveaway to ship it to them. Then they decided to buy something for $5 with a coupon of $5. $46 puts me in a tough place. I'll pay anything for my customers, but that's crazy. Would you block until strike is over or what? To be honest, stamp pickers, I would not do giveaways if you can't afford those like I understand like crazy far away locations that do cost a lot of money. It's hard to. So, and Halifax Honey Company, again, I hope I answered your question to go to help.whatnot.com and to do the bring your own label. But you're in Halifax, so you can use Chitchats. So if you are in a location where you can use Chitchats, then what you want to do is just go into your mobile phone, go to your seller hub, go to your shipping section, go to shipping providers and select Chitchats, and then just find which location is the closest to you. If there's like 3 locations, I want to say, in the Halifax area, one of them only takes small packages. And one of them, I think, or no, that's in Montreal. One of the places in Montreal charges a fee for the drop off. But otherwise, if you're in the Halifax area, so you should have at least 2 options that are open to you to drop off at a Chit Chats location, and then you won't have to worry about doing bring your own label. The buyer will pay whatnot for the shipping. So let's see, how much is it to ship? Okay, we talked about that. Does Freightcom do yeah, good question. Is Chit Chats the best and cheapest option for those in the Toronto area? Sassy Mandu, yes. If your Chit Chats location is convenient to you, I understand. I totally understand that. Like, for example, Mimix lives in like this like in an area where it is 45-minute bus ride to get to a Chit Chats location. If you live in a convenient way to a Chit Chats location, because in Toronto, like going 6 kilometers could take you an hour compared to here where I go like 40 kilometers away and it only takes me half an hour. So, you need to, or less than that actually. So what you need to do is just see whether or not that Chit Chats location is convenient to you. It is the ideal option, really, because then you don't have to use UPS or FedEx and go through bring your own label. Because you're going to have to, folks, if you use bring your own label, you need to be able to buy the labels. You need to have the money available to buy the labels, and then you need to wait for your payout from Whatnot and transfer that money from your ledger into your account and be able to wait for that. If you don't have that kind of cash flow in your life and you have a Chit Chats location near you, then you should just be using Chit Chats. Also, there is less risk of you having to overspend on shipping if you use Whatnot's integrated Chit Chats. So again, if you can use Chit Chats, switch to Chit Chats. I've switched to Chit Chats. It's like it's how far away is it? It is like you're gonna ask your boyfriend to drop that. That's a great idea. It's 35 minutes away for me to get to Chit Chats, so I will be, if when I start selling, I'll sell over 2 or 3 days and then not sell for the rest of the days, so that I can do my shipping and send it out like once every 2 or 3 days. Stamp Picker says, was the fact that after telling them the cost and sending anyways, they in the next show bought with a coupon knowing the cost difference. Yeah, I don't know, Stamp Pickers. It's totally up to you. I mean, it's hard, right? It's hard to say, like, but you know what? If they don't have another coupon, they're probably not going to buy from you. And I just wouldn't do giveaways. But that's me. I'm not a big fan of giveaways anyways. Yeah, I mean, either if you're giving good deals, then that's your giveaway, as far as I'm concerned. Cardhawk says, does Whatnot reimburse shipping labels if you do bring your own label? Cardhawks, Whatnot will only give you the amount that the buyer paid Whatnot for shipping. All the rest, if there's any additional costs, that's on you. if your label costs you less than whatnot paid the for shipping, then you get to keep that money. But for the most part, it's going to be close to or higher than whatnot got paid by the buyer for shipping, because whatnot is going to be charging the buyer. If you don't have Chitchats, whatnot's going to be charging the buyer Canada Post rates for shipping. And really important, don't select Chitchats if you're not going to use Chitchats, because your buyers are going to get charged, most of your buyers are going to get charged less than what you want, which less than what it would to go Canada Post. So you want to make sure that you, if you can't use Chitchats, that you select as your shipping provider Canada Post, so that your buyers get charged that amount. Also, super important, I need to add a slide for this. Super important. If you see that your buyer has a PO box, you're not going to be able to ship to that. You're going to have to contact the buyer and ask them for a correct address. Even if you use Bring Your Own Label or Chitchats, they can't deliver right now to PO boxes because that's controlled by the Canada Post. So if you see that, you're going to have to contact your buyer. You're going to have to ask them to update their address, tell you what their address is. You're going to have to contact Whatnot Support. Whatnot Support is going to receive your message. Make sure you put the order numbers, the shipment number, and the buyer name, username, and the address that you want to be updated. They're going to then contact the buyer and ask the buyer to confirm that this is the address they want, and then they'll come back to you and update it, and then they'll create a label for you. Okay, so it's if you are doing Chitchats. So if you see a PO box, it's actually going to get, it's interesting because if you see a PO box, what it's going to say underneath where it says generate label, it's going to say expected to go by Canada Post, and it's going to be kind of grayed out because it can only go by Canada Post. So the system is set up that it can only go by Canada Post. Now, I did highlight this to Whatnot, so it may be that PO boxes are going to get an alert that says that not shippable to you. So if somebody's in Canada and they say sometime this week, if they say I can't, it says I can't bid because it says not shippable to me, but I'm in Canada, you can say to them, ask them, can you look in your wallet and is your address a PO box? If it is, change your address from a PO box to a physical address. Same thing for sellers. Look at your return address label. It can't be a PO box. You need to update your return address label to something that's not a PO box. Cardhawk17 says, is Chitchats the same as in Telecom Dragonfly? Chitchats is a shipping provider that uses Intelcom and Dragonfly to drop off packages in certain locations, yes. But it's not, it contracts to those companies as opposed to it doing it. It has its own delivery system, plus it also uses Intelcom, Dragonfly, a whole bunch of others. Sandpicker says, can you switch between the two at will? Yes, you can switch between Canada Post and Chitchats whenever you want to. PO boxes with a physical address, okay. Also, some postmasters keep the PO boxes open. Yeah, but for the most part, I'd say the best solution is to use a physical address, because it's hard for the Whatnot system to know the difference between like Campbellford and Hastings. I know in Hastings they still have 2 staff there, but the staff are not accepting packages at all, period. So they're not accepting drop-offs. There is nothing in my box, and there won't be. They're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. Cardhawk says, I didn't switch to Chitchats last show and I'm eating the extra shipping fee. So Cardhawks, you can still, if you didn't switch to Chitchats and you can use Chitchats, what I want you to do is I want you to go into your shipping profile on your seller hub. I want you to switch to Chitchats. Then I want you to go back into those labels. I want you to hit edit beside them. I want you to hit save because it's going to ask you for the dimensions and stuff. I want you to hit save, and I want you to hit regenerate label and see if it'll generate a label for you with Chitchats. If not, what I want you to do is I want you to message Whatnot support with the name of your show, the date and the time, as well as the usernames of all your buyers and any order numbers if you can help them out by showing them order numbers, and ask them if they will create Chitchats labels for you. Yeah. Well, I don't know if they don't have the room. I think they're just like their union reps are telling them different things. They also go if last time if they were picketing out front, they went out and picketed with them because it's not like they had anything to do inside. So they went out and picketed. So they're more in solidarity with than others. They said really they wouldn't generate any labels. They said bring your own label only. Ask again. Ask again. Because seriously, if the buyer paid Canada Post rates for shipping, then and you ask for a Chitchats label instead, that should be cheaper. Yeah. So again, Whatnot support. The problem is that Whatnot support is not up to date with all the information. So literally say, please put this to the attention of the Canada team. This is what I need, and tell them. Like say no, push back. No, you can create Chitchats labels. Please put this to the attention of the Canada team so that they don't do that. Because no, if seriously, if Whatnot was charging Canada Post rates to your buyer and then you create a Chitchats label instead, you're less likely to have shipping adjustments. They're going to bank that extra money. So why wouldn't they go through the effort? So no, push back. Sometimes you got to push back on support. Dear support, I love you. I love you dearly. However, y'all are like dropping the ball and saying 5 different things during this whole thing. There needs to be one answer. Yeah, ask them to escalate it to the Canada team. Say, I need this escalated to the Canada team because I just want Chitchats labels. Like, the end. Like, yeah. That's what I was saying. I know it's taking longer. I'm sorry, Corey. I know it takes longer and it's frustrating, but sometimes you just got to push back. Loki, come. Stupid dogs. They just bark against each other. So Sassy Mandu asks, how important is it having a specific weight for a clothing item? Can it be a little off? It can be a little off as in, so for example, all right, we got kids' clothes here. I'm selling random kids' clothes. I'm doing polls of kids' clothes, right? Hang on, let me just switch. We're going to switch. We're going to turn off. We're going to rotate the camera, and we're going to turn off face cam. I think I managed. No, I didn't turn off face cam. Now it's in my face cam. There we go. In my face cam. Turn off face cam. And then what I want to do is, hang on. I'm going to, yeah, next time push back. There needs to be several different answers because based on where you live in Canada, you're limited. So Scally Breeze, there shouldn't be multiple answers from support when it comes to things like if you say, I can use Chitchats, I want to create a Chitchats label for this shipment and it won't let me. They can create a Chitchats. They shouldn't be saying, bring your own label. The problem is that they're using, partially it seems like they're using AI to help them with their answers, and AI is using old information based on last strike and not this strike. Okay, so they're getting their information based on the FAQ that they had during the last strike and not this strike, and it's totally different because now we have Chitchats as an option, which we didn't then. So again, also reimbursement. I had extra fees because I had to use Maritime Bus Company to ship my Chitchats stuff to Chitchats. That's a cost on you. That should not be a cost on Whatnot. But support was like, oh dear, we didn't know about this. Yes, you did. At least the Canada team did. So the Canada team needs, I'm sorry, I love you, but I've already said this to you. on an email. So you need to crack down on this because it's ridiculous. Because some people are getting away with stuff that they shouldn't get away with, and then other people are not getting help. Yeah. Oh, Mimic says, "What bot thinks chit chats is us wanting to chit chat." It's true. Sandpicker says, I feel like it's okay to eat some costs, especially for customers, but if someone takes advantage of us, I'll push back. Abso-freaking-lutely. Yeah, like that's just not fair. All right, let me just see if I can pull up from my inventory in inactive clothing so I can show you what I did for a kids' clothing show. So when you're doing clothing, some clothing return, some clothing is going to be like really, it's all going to be about the same weight, right? And other times it is not import. So I did a nobody bid. Here, let me put the price up. All right. Start auction. $10,000 item. All right. So sorry. There we go. Putting you back in the holder. Fancy holder. Okay, so if you're doing a clothing show and you have clothing that's all about the same weight, then what you can do is just do a generalized listing with like 1,000 items, the quantity 1,000 that you can use throughout all your shows. That's for items that are lightweight, like kids' clothes. What I did was I went through the kids' clothes. I found the clothes that felt the heaviest to me. I put them in a big pile and I weighed them. And then I counted the number of clothes and then I divided the weight by those number of clothes. And then I added a couple more ounces and that was my weight for random pulls. I went above the average weight. You do not want to go below the average weight. Why? Because then when you go to ship, your weights are going to be too low and you're going to end up with a shipping adjustment, which is no big deal when you're a small seller and you're just starting out and you only have 5 customers a week. So 5 shipping adjustments is no big deal. But if you don't want to grow on Whatnot, then carry on. But if you do want to grow on Whatnot, you need to learn how to put your weights at a higher amount. This is for Canadian sellers. American sellers are different. You want to put your weights at a slightly higher amount so that you don't get dinged every time for shipping charges. Please note the difference in price between 0 to 3 ounces and 1 pound is no difference. We've done tests. There's no difference. It's only when you go over a pound that there's a difference in cost for your customer. So for the most part, you can start off at like say 12 ounces or 13, 15, 12 to 15 ounces. Pick that one, even if your clothes are lightweight, because you also need to add on the weight of your packaging. If you use a poly mailer and some tissue paper, it's not going to add that much more weight on. If you're putting stuff in a box, it's going to add weight on. And especially clothes are simple, right? Easy to ship, easy to ship relative to having to ship Canadian pottery. So you want to make sure that you are doing above your average weight if you're going to do random pulls. Otherwise, it is important that if you're going to list something individually, that you weigh this and then add a little bit more on for that weight. And I have no problem with going much higher than the weight in order to make sure that I don't have any shipping adjustments. I am not downloading that much more expense to my buyers, and they should understand that I'm running a business and I need to not lose a ton of money on this. Stampicker says, can you have shows set to Canada Post Corporation and change later to Chitchats for labels so we don't get killed on differences in price? I wouldn't do that very often, stamp pickers. I would say Whatnot is going to prefer if you don't have to use support every single time, and to use Chitchat. If you can use Chitchats, select Chitchats. But if you know in that show you're not going to be able to use Chitchats, or you use Canada Post and then you realize, you know what, actually I'm going to be going into Vancouver anyway, so I can use Chitchats this time, then you can message them and ask them for one-offs, but I wouldn't do it all the time. Mimic says, I had to argue with what bot. No, I don't want a chit chat. I want labels for chit chats. Yeah. Yeah, you do do batch labels with chit chats if you can. Again, that Abbotsford location was doing it for a customer, a whatnot seller, creating batch labels. So again, if you what is a batch label for those who are wondering? Chit Chats has a program with okay, good. Richmond said they were going to do it too. So Chitchats has a program with Purelator called Smart Drop. What you do is you take you create all your packages, you get your Chitchats labels, you put all of your Chitchats into packages that are going to go to Chitchats into one box, a consolidated shipment. One box with everything in it. Then you weigh that box and you measure that box. Try to make the box as small as possible. Then you eventually this will be where you go on to chitchats.com and you would enter that information. You do need to create a chitchats.com profile in order to do this. But okay, so batch label, Smart Drop with Purelator. You make your consolidated package and then you go to a Purelator drop-off location and Chitchats will have already created a label for you. You pay a discounted rate. Chitchats has a discounted rate with Purelator. You pay a discounted rate to ship that box with all of your packages inside to the closest Chit Chats depot. So that's Bedford Bay in Halifax for all of the Maritimes, Montreal for Quebec, Burlington for Ontario. I think it's Calgary or Edmonton. I think it's Calgary for Alberta, so that includes Saskatchewan. British Columbia, it's somewhere in the greater, I can't remember. Burnaby? Can't remember. Anyway, somewhere in Vancouver. So you don't have them in all locations. Sorry, territories. Richmond, thank you. Richmond is the main depot in British Columbia. So if you live in Winnipeg, it's probably going to be cheaper to ship to the location in Burlington, Ontario, than it is to ship it to Calgary or Edmonton. But interestingly enough, when you sign up with Chit Chats and you put in your address and information, it will tell you which is the closest location to you. It will, when you go to the batch section, it actually says this is the closest depot for you. So it will already pre-select that. Crazy Beat Lady, I don't know if I didn't see a notification from Discord that this is on YouTube, so no. My one from I think Sunday is on YouTube though. And I pretty much say most of this information that oh no, I am on. It just as I said that, the me just put into the Discord that this is live on, so you can rewatch this on YouTube today. Yay! Hi, they make me smile. Erica, how are you, love? Welcome, welcome. Magnus Mybrika says, how do you save your Whatnot live video to share it to your YouTube? So that's not so easy. What I have is multicast, which is a seller tool within iPhone. It's only available through iPhone. It's a seller tool where you will multicast to YouTube, and I'm also on Twitch right now. So yes, happy Thursday. So yeah. Tomorrow I'm actually hoping I can do a show. So okay, sorry. I'm hoping that I can do a show tomorrow. I usually do a special egg game show for my birthday, so I'm hoping that I can do a show. It all depends on how I'm feeling and whether or not I feel like I can do a whole bunch of shipments afterwards. Thank you. It's tomorrow. It's not today. But hopefully I can do a show. You've already been following me too. Yay, Scally Breeze. There you go. What I tend to do is like once or twice a week, I go through Whatnot and try to go and find all the new sellers and follow them if they're Canadian. I follow everybody, even if they were like brand spanking new. I will follow them because I'm hoping that they'll follow me back and then they'll come into my shows. I don't want to message people and be like, "Welcome to Whatnot, come into my shows to learn things." But Sassy Mandu says, "Oh my God, thank you, Erica. I love you." everyone, please follow They Make Me Smile. If you want to have a great seller chat and just a great morning show, then you need to follow They Make Me Smile. She's such a sweetheart. She's in the States and she's just such a sweetheart. I love you so much. And I'm sending you all kinds of like Canadian hugs. All my American friends, sending you lots of Canadian hugs because, oh my God. Hello, Final Girl. Records from the Six has a question, but hang on one second. Sassy Mandu says, I'm doing my first ever show tomorrow morning and I'm completely new. Welcome. Tell us about what you're going to be selling. Tell us everything, Sassy. Let me see. Now hit follow. Records from the Six says, do you know why Whatnot isn't allowing Chitchats to the US? Because Chitchats to the US requires a whole bunch of data that that we do not have the ability to provide through the Whatnot system. So all shipments to the United States go via UPS. Whether you selected Canada Post or Chitchats, all of them will go by UPS. Your customer will be charged for their shipping, the UPS rate for shipping to the US, and then on top of it, Records from the Six, I'm sorry, but they will get a customs brokerage fee from UPS. Some people have said it's as low as $10. The average that I've seen is $24. But it's somewhere in there, plus then taxes, duties, and tariffs, because things are no longer duty free for the most part unless they are customer compliant. But it's a weird and wonderful list that's customer compliant. So you when a US buyer comes into a Canadian show, they get a warning label before they come in. There's a warning and they have to hit join show again before they can go into your show. It is easier. It would be easier, but it's not easier through the Whatnot system now because of the changes to the removal of the de minimis exemption. Because of that has created a whole bunch of extra paperwork, and Chitchats has to do prepaid duties only. So you have to prepay the duties, and so Whatnot's not prepared for that yet. Chitchats is working on a different system, and hopefully they will be able to integrate it with Whatnot. I have been talking with Matthew about that. He's a sweetheart. Shop with Jackie says, my customers were both charged $60 US each. Oh, God. Angie says, I have to run. Thanks for the info, Kim. Please, everyone, private message her, send her a DM. Angie's this and that. If you would like to join the Family Fashion Raid Train in October, it's on the third Sunday of every month, and it's family fashion and accessories. Angie's shows are on hold as she's getting ready for her liquidation sale. That's so exciting. Records from the Six says, if anyone needs help from Whatnot, let me know. I send Chitchats on the States daily. Yeah, Records from the Six sells a ton. Yeah, so you've got it down pat for records to send through Chitchats. Whatnot just doesn't have the integration yet, so hopefully soon. Thank you so much, Card Hawks. Have a great day. Okay, so let's see who we can. Everybody ask your questions and share your shows. Everyone share your shows. If you are a seller or you just want follows, put up some emojis so that everybody can follow everybody else. That's the only way that people are going to know that you're interested in follows. And if you want to tell us about what you sell so that you can get even more follows, do so. And I am going to see who's on right now that we can go into. Ooh, a Pokemon card person. Let's see. I'm looking for someone with low numbers. Let's see. I see low numbers. 334 items sold. We may go in there. Magnus by Marika, follow me. 1 p.m. Eastern live show today. Shop with Jackie is seller of soft bamboo clothing for the whole family. Bookmark my shows or just come to say hi. Final Girl Material sells dolls and clothing. Yay! Sassy Mandu has first shirt show tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. Stamp Pickers, Corey has a show later today, 4:15 p.m. Pacific time. Will answer questions about Canada Post Corporation and business. Premium seller for at least a few more days. That's right. He's got his wings. Okay, thank you. They make me smile. I love you. I will check my messages when I get off here. Let's see. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go into a newer seller, Mark and Reserve. Mark and Reserve is who we're going to go to. All right, last call for any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to do RAID, RAID, and then, oops, Mark. There it is. Okay. Sorry, Sassy. Yes, the shipping should have everything. The weight of the whole, like the item plus all shipping materials, and if you're going to put anything else in. Make sure you put it all. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Records from the 6. Card Hawk says 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. NHL hockey cards. Follow for the Heat. You're welcome. Okay. Hey, thank you. You're welcome. Hi Q. Okay, records from the 6. I'm just waiting for you, and then we will hit send. While we are in Bring Your Own Label, any idea why we can't use Chitchats if Bring Your Own Label? Because it's only set up for UPS and FedEx right now. However, message Whatnot support and ask them if they will add Chitchats as a Bring Your Own Label option. If you want to prepay, like if you want to wait, like so use Bring Your Own Label for US. So US has to go UPS. But I guess you could if you wanted to pay the yeah. So if you want to use Chitchats for US bound would be like the only reason, because otherwise if you switch to Chitchats, then you can just generate labels through Whatnot for Chitchats, except for your US bound packages. You would have to message Whatnot support and ask them if they will add Chitchats as an option for Bring Your Own Label for the US. They said they won't. They probably won't. Yeah, but you can always ask. The answer will be no. So it's mainly just to simplify the system, and also because what they do is when you use Bring Your Own Label, it automatically takes that and says, okay, it's UPS, so we're going to gives the customer a link to follow the tracking, which they don't have set up yet for doing the same thing with a tracking label for Chitchats. It certainly is something that maybe they should do, but I think they don't want to confuse people by having people buy Chitchats labels when they can just buy Chitchat labels direct from Whatnot for non-US items. So right now the system is the way it is, and so if you have a US bound package, I know it's a lot. So this is not simple. We are now officially in the non-simple age. Okay, we're going into a newer seller. I know it's Pokemon cards. Let's just show some love. Say hi, encourage them. They've got 335 items that they've sold so far. So they're a newer seller. They're doing pretty well because it's Pokemon. And let's just say hi and give them some love. I love you guys so much. I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.